Right. So friends, our topic of discussion today is the influence of shear stress in any beam design. Basically, how the shear stress have an impact in the selection of cross section when we are designing a beam. So before moving on to the main topic, we just want to have a discussion on the action of any transverse load when it is acting in a beam. So when a beam is loaded in the transverse direction, the beam will respond by the action of its fibers. I need not describe in details what happens, but just to sum up, some of the fibers, as you can see in these pictures, the top fibers will get contracted, while the other fibers present at the bottom of the beam are getting elongated. And at some position, neither the fibers are getting elongated nor it is getting contracted. So the fiber lengths remain unchanged at that position. That position in the beam is called its neutral axis, and any surface passing across the neutral axis forms the neutral surface in the beam section. So I am not going to describe in details about this, just I touch these concepts. And what happens at the cross section basically when this transverse load is acting. To respond to this transverse load, internal forces are basically developed in the cross sections. These internal forces, as you can see in the pictures kept in the slide, are in the form of shear forces and bending moment. Now, what is the shear force? Shear force is like a slicing force, means when we have a piece of bread and if we want to make slices in the bread, the way we apply the scissor or the knife in the bread is in the way shear force are actually getting acted upon the beam when this transverse load are acting. So this tries to shear off the portion of the beam due to the shear force. And as you can see, these shear forces always act along the depth of the section, whereas the other force is the or other force effect is the bending moment. Now, how this bending moment is developed? What happens at the cross section? A set of unlike forces are also acting across the cross section. That means some of the forces are acting towards the section while other set of forces are acting away from the cross sections. This can be related to our concept of elongation and contraction as we described earlier. Now, due to this unlike set of forces, a moment is being developed again at the cross section, and this leads to the development of bending moment, which is developed across the cross section. Whereas, as we mentioned earlier, the shear force is developed along the depth of the cross section, as it is clear and evident from the slides discussed here. Now, if we move ahead, now due to these shear forces and bending moments, stresses are being generated in the beams as a matter of response. So bending moments will lead to the development of bending stress in the beams. The formulations as we can derive earlier, as we have seen, and shear forces leads to the development of shear stresses in the beam at the cross sections. Now, I am not going to describe how these formulations are coming up for bending stresses and shear stresses. This lecture is basically not meant for this. We are actually describing the role of cross section selection for shear stresses. Now, if we just go ahead, what is happening for design of the stresses? As both shear stresses and bending moment are generally coexistent in nature, so a beam should be developed for both the stresses and designed to check that both the shear stresses and bending stresses are in the allowable limit. But under the case of pure bending, that means a beam when it is subjected only bending moment and zero shear force, constant bending moment with zero shear force, that condition in the beam is called pure bending condition. At that time, we can check only the bending stresses in the beam. Whereas in the other case of pure shear stress, what happens is that a beam is subjected only to shear forces and the bending moment acting at the beam cross section is zero. So that is called pure shear condition in the beam. That time we can check the beam only for shear stresses, need not be checked for bending stress at that condition. And generally, when in design engineering, beams are checked for maximum bending stresses and the average shear stresses. So the selection of the cross section of the beam will be mostly based on section modulus, which is a function in case of bending stresses. The section modulus, as we know, I'm not going to describe about section modulus here, since that is again not the topic of discussion today. Now we see what happens for maximum shear stress and the average shear stress. As I have mentioned, beams are generally designed for not maximum shear stress, but only for average shear stress. Now, if we have a comparison of two kinds of section, like we have taken one rectangular section and a circular cross section, and if we see what is the relation between the average shear stress and the maximum shear stress developed in both the kinds of cross section, we can say that in case of a rectangular cross section, the maximum shear stress is 1.5 times of the average shear stress, for which actually the beam is generally designed, the average shear stress. That is, the maximum shear stress is actually 50% more than the average shear stress. Whereas in case of a solid circular section, this is 1.33 times greater than the average shear stress. So maximum shear stress is 4/3 times of the average shear stress in case of a solid circular section. So what we can infer from this is that if shear stress becomes the primary criteria of design in any beam, generally shear stress, as I have mentioned, are the secondary criteria of design. We generally design a beam for bending stresses. But if shear stress becomes a primary criteria of beam design, our circular section will perform better than a rectangular cross section. This is because my actual maximum shear stress in a circular section is only 1.33 times greater than the average shear stress for which it is generally designed, whereas in case of a rectangular section, it is 1.5 times greater. So to understand these things in a better way, we can take the example of, in a software, the action of the shear stresses. Suppose this is a beam with a round cross section, solid round cross section, that is a circular cross section. The diameter of the beam is 100 mm, and the area of the beam, the cross section area of the beam comes around to be 7,853 millimeter square. Now, if this is the cross section of the beam, and if it is like a cantilever beam, kept like a cantilever beam, and the load is applied at the free end of 60,000 kilonewton, not 60,000 kilonewton, 100 into 60,000 kilonewton. Sorry, I mean in terms of kilonewton, it will be, I believe, 60,000 only, 6,000 kilonewton. Pardon. So what happens? Let us see what happens to the stresses developed in the beam. So if we check the shear stresses in the beam due to this load, and if we see what is the stress developed in the beam, as you can see here, the stress developed in the beam is 1018.59 Newton per mm square or MPa. And the beam has constant shear stress developed because the shear forces are not changing across the length of the beam. So we are getting a shear stress of 1118 or 1020 Newton per mm square on account of the forces at the free end. Now, if the same beam is loaded with this force only, but with a cross section which is like rectangular in section, with the parameter of height being 78.53 mm and width being 100 mm, so that the area of cross section of both the beams described earlier and this one comes out to be same as 7,853 mm square. So the area of the cross section has been kept same for the purpose of comparison. And if we just check what is the maximum stress developed, shear stress developed due to the same force acting at the free end of the beam, we will see that, just 1 second. Yeah, so if we make the unit similar again, so we see that in this case, due to the effect of the same force at the free end, we are getting a stress of 1145 or Newton per mm square or 1145 MPa. So earlier we were getting a stress of shear stress of 1020 Newton per mm square, but here we are getting a stress of 1145 Newton per mm square. So this is the basic difference between a rectangular cross section and a circular cross section when we are comparing only the shear stresses developed. So the shear stresses developed in a circular cross section is comparatively less, when we compare this to a rectangular cross section. I have just elongated, explained this with the help of a model, and this becomes primary, but just to move away from shear stress. And if we see the bending stresses develop, we see that for the rectangular cross section, the bending stress comes out to be in the order of 5,83,610 MPa. Whereas for the circular section, if we see only the bending stress, it is of the order of, as you can see, 6,11,154 MPa. So if we are talking about bending stress, the rectangular cross section will perform better. But if we are talking about the shear stress, the circular cross section will perform better, as it will develop lesser shear stress, but the circular stress section will develop higher bending stress compared to the rectangular cross sections. So this is the differentiation between the selection of cross section for the bending stress as well as for the shear stress. Now, where do we find the implication of this shear stress? Generally, beams are developed or so dominated by bending stresses only. But in case of a certain beams, suppose a beam which is simply supported in nature, not like cantilever like this, having a simply supported condition, and what is happening is that uniform moment is being acted upon on that beam and no other forces are acting. When uniform moments are acting on the beam, the net bending moment acting at the beam is actually zero. As you can see in this one, here we have taken a circular cross section and a uniform bending moment of just give me 1 second. Uniform bending moment of 3000 kilonewton per meter is acting at the length on the length of the beam. So in this case, the bending moment developed is zero in the beam. So the bending stresses in this case, as we can check here, just give me 1 second to see the bending stress developed in the beam. As I believe you can see, SVZ is my bending stress in this software. It comes out to be zero. This is because we do not have any necessarily a bending moment in the beam. This beam is totally dominated by shear forces. So this is a shear dominated beam. And here, as you see, we have taken a circular cross section and we are getting a shear stress of the order of, if I just check in Newton per mm, that is in MPa, we are getting a shear stresses of 5,093 MPa. Whereas if we consider the same condition of the beam simply supported and uniform moment acting, but the cross section is now in this case is rectangular cross section. Remember, the area of cross section of both in both the cases has been kept same for the purpose of comparison. It's just that in one case it is circular in cross section, in another case it is rectangular in cross sections. Again, if we just check the bending stress, I believe here it will be also zero, because again there is no bending moment acting along the length of the beam due to this uniform moment acting at the beam. But the shear stress developed in this case will be 5,729. So you see, in this case, almost we are getting 600 MPa higher stress for a rectangular cross section when we compare this to a circular cross sections. What will happen that in the design of the circular cross section, we will require less material, whereas in the design of such a rectangular cross section, we will require more material because the stresses, shear stresses developed is very high in order of 5,730, whereas in case of the circular cross section, this comes around to be 5,093 MPa only. So this is the way how we should differentiate between the selection of cross section when a beam is being dominated by shear stress, and in case the beam is only developed or dominated by bending stress, as we have seen, the rectangular section will perform better compared to the circular sections. So generally we design the beam for maximum bending stress and average shear stress. But when it comes to only shear stress or shear dominated beams, we should design the beam for maximum shear stress. And in that case, we see that circular cross section basically performs better as compared to any rectangular cross sections. So this ends our lecture here. Thank you. Thank you.